All right, this is a watch list video for Monday, March 28th. Real quick, we'll show you the SPY. I said I didn't expect much movement in the market last week. We did get a gap down on Thursday. The market was closed on Friday and kind of almost back up into the recent range. Volume's been pretty dead, which is what we expected. Now, getting ready for Monday, here's the list I've come up with to watch. All right, SWHC, Smith & Wesson, took kind of a big hit. I mean, this thing's been grinding higher, and you know, earnings and sales are up. And then all of a sudden in one day it took a big hit up to, let me put a line here. This is kind of the area, whoops, that it, you know, this was a recent high, right? And then it kind of gapped up above it, retested, and went there. So the fact that it's back down to that area in one day from 29, I actually think this is a decent bounce potential next week. You know, I always want to look up, if I'm looking for something for a possible bounce, I try to look up the news. And literally, the news I found on SWHC was that, if I have this right, shareholders or some activists decided that Smith & Wesson and Ruger aren't doing a good enough job letting people know that their products are often used in crimes, which is literally the dumbest reason for a sell-off I've possibly ever heard. Made me want to go out and buy about 5 more guns. It's just the stupidest thing. So being a trader, though, that doesn't really matter how stupid it was. Well, I'll, you know, look for a bounce based on intraday activity and be looking at the overall market as well. But you know, if you were looking to, if you felt like you missed the breakout in Smith & Wesson, and now we're back down to the breakout area, you're right, the recent highs that it broke above and spent, you know, almost about 3 weeks above it. You know, this could be a chance to get back in at those prices. So, but keep in mind, I'm a day trader, so I'll just be looking for an intraday trade. But that one's on watch. SZYM just goes back on bounce watch. After this gap up rally and then came back down and retested the breakout area here, and then had a really nice secondary move, it's right back down to that support area. So I want to put that one back on bounce watch. LEU gap down but closed fairly strong. I want to watch this one. It's a low float stock. Earnings are behind it now. Big insider purchase announced the other day. So to me, that's worth watching for a potential long. When it does move, it moves pretty quickly. EROS, another pretty thin stock that had a really nice breakout over this $10 area back here and went all the way to almost 14 and down a few days and a nice solid close on Thursday. You know, I kind of like it over Thursday's high, which was, let's see, 11.15. So EROS, I'll put 11.16 in my notes, but anyway, that one might have bottomed right here and put in a lower high and could be up from there. So I want to watch that one. Lumber Liquidators, I want to put on watch. You know, it gave back a lot of this big pop here, gave back, but it did close near its highs on Thursday. So I want to watch for a follow through with that bounce. LLAAC. Now this thing, I've only watched this thing trade a couple times in my life, and both times I watched it, it was what you call stupid spready. So I'm not in love with it. I love the chart, but I don't love how crazy this thing, the nasty spreads. But again, you kind of had resistance right in this area here that it broke out above and came back and tested that 18, now becoming support. It did close a green candle on Thursday. So it's interesting over like 1850, might continue, but I'm very skeptical that I'll trade that one at all. It depends, you know, spreads tighten up for some reason, but be careful with that one. PETX had a really nice high volume pop here, and you've got, you know, a few days lower, and actually it's found nice support in the, let's see, what was the 488 was the lows here, 476. So in the high fours, it's found nice support and closed green the last 2 days. There it is on 15s. You know, so you got to like it over 528, the high back here, 528. So if this gets up into the 530s, it may get going. Not a bad idea. Maybe just put a line there. All right, right at that 528 area. So then, you know, when you're trading on Monday, if you have a line on your chart, you kind of have a quick visual instead of having to say, I wonder what that recent high was. You just, if it gets through this line, might be worthwhile for a potential long. That's PETX. I do like the fact that it's found support. You know, if it can keep holding that support, the next logical move is up. CANF, another thinner one, but an interesting chart. Popped out of this range here the other day, then tried to rally, closed below its open, and then right back up. But I would caution you that Thursday's volume was only 207,000. So I'm not in love with this one, but it's kind of an interesting chart. It really doesn't have the volume I look for. LXU, nice pullback to the 8-day and a nice solid green close near the highs of the day, or probably, yeah, about 1 penny off the high of the day. And had a really nice move back here, and then it's flagging. So this one might continue that bounce. Here it is on 15-minute candles. So you've got a nice pop and then just a sideways kind of flag pattern up over this 1280 area. This one might get going for another leg higher. And you can see it made nice moves. The low, like on this day I'm hovering over, it went from 1142 to 1408, so that's a huge move. Back here, it went from 714 to 929, so there's another really huge move. I think it's worth watching for a follow through on that bounce off of the 8-day. And then TMST, this is kind of obscure, but it's definitely holding support here at the 20-day. The chart wouldn't have caught my attention. Again, you've heard me mention this one in videos recently. If it wasn't for U.S. Steel, AKS, NUE, all looking pretty darn strong. STLD, so other steel stocks up near recent highs. So if those rally, this looks good over Thursday's high, over 922. Maybe it retests 10. If it ever gets above 10, it could really move. And again, I like the fact that if you look back here, this moved from 518 to 939 in one day. So you can tell I like stocks that can make these big moves, and now it's kind of gotten into a more narrow range. It already made a decent move on Thursday, so keep that in mind. But if we get a flag for a while, I think that's worth it, especially if the other steels are moving. So I don't like to spend too much time on the weekends building a huge list, because now we've had a 3-day weekend. For all I know, the market opens way down or way up on on Monday. And then these stocks I have on watch, if they're all gapping, mean a lot less. So I will start with this list. We'll be building a pre-market list on Monday morning of some potential gappers as well. And I'll leave it at that. Happy Easter to everybody, and we'll talk to you on Monday.